The meeting room was cold and silent. Jiwan sat alone at the small human table facing the massive curved desk where 12 alien representatives stared down at her. The Galactic Council chamber on Arcturus Station was built to make visitors feel small. Today, it was working perfectly. Jiwan wore her best diplomatic uniform, but she felt like a child called to the principal's office. The aliens around her were nothing like humans. The Vorthak looked like walking crystals, their bodies sparkling under the bright lights. The Kalari moved together like they shared one mind, which they did. The Nexari floated in their gas tanks, speaking through machines that made their voices sound like whispers. "Ambassador Jiwan of Earth," said Vexisthera, the Vorthak leader. Her crystal face had no expression, but her voice cut through the air like ice. "We have called you here for the final time." Jiwan kept her face calm, even though her heart was racing. She had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 10 years. She had seen this moment coming for months. The aliens were scared of humans, and scared aliens did dangerous things. "I am here to listen," Jiwan said. Her voice echoed in the huge room. A Kalari drone stepped forward. When one Kalari spoke, they all spoke together. "The human species has ignored 17 warnings. You continue your research into what you call the silence. This research must stop." Jiwan knew about the silence. Every human did. It was the most important discovery in human history. Her people had found it hiding in dark matter, between the spaces where normal matter existed. It looked like empty space, but it hummed with energy that could power entire star systems. "The silence is a natural phenomenon," Jiwan said carefully. "Human scientists are simply studying it." The room erupted in alien sounds, crystal chimes from the Vorthak, buzzing from the Kalari, hissing from the Nexari gas tanks. Vexithara raised one sharp crystal hand, and silence returned. "You do not understand what you are playing with," Vexithara said. "The silence has destroyed 17 civilizations, 17 species that thought they could control it, 17 worlds that no longer exist." Jiwan felt a chill run down her spine. This was new information. The Council had never told humans about other species trying to use the silence. "What happened to them?" Jiwan asked. "They died," whispered a Nexari through its machine. "All of them. Every last member of their species. The silence consumed them." The Kalari drones moved closer to their speaking platform. "The pattern is always the same. A young species discovers the silence. They think they can use it. They push too far. Then silence. Real silence. Forever." Vexthara's crystal body began to glow brighter. "Humans are following the exact same path. You have built research stations. You have conducted experiments. You have tried to harness the silence as an energy source. This is exactly how it began with the others." Jiwan thought about the research stations orbiting Earth and scattered across human space. Thousands of scientists worked day and night to understand the silence. They had made incredible progress. The energy readings were beyond anything humans had ever seen, but the aliens made it sound like a death sentence. "Perhaps," Jiwan said slowly, "humans are different from those other species." The alien sounds erupted again, but this time they sounded like laughter. Not happy laughter, the kind of laughter that said someone had just told a very bad joke. "Every species believes they are different," Vexithara said. "Every species believes they are special. The Zephyrians believed they were too advanced to make mistakes. The Corvani believed their technology could protect them. The militants believed their weapons could fight the silence itself. They were all wrong." A Kalari drone's eyes glowed red. "Humans are not special. Humans are not different. Humans are not safe." Jiwan felt anger rising in her chest. The aliens spoke about her species like they were stupid children playing with fire. But humans had survived ice ages and world wars. They had reached for the stars when everyone said it was impossible. They had learned to work together when their own planet nearly died from war and pollution. "You underestimate us," Jiwan said. "No," Vexthera replied. "You underestimate the silence." The lead Nexari floated closer to the front of its tank. Its gas swirled in patterns that looked almost like a face. "We have reached our decision. Humanity has 30 standard days to cease all research into the silence. All stations must be shut down. All experiments must end. All data must be destroyed." Jiwan's hands clenched into fists under the table. "And if we refuse? Then humanity will be quarantined," Vexthara said. "No trade, no communication, no travel between human space and the rest of the galaxy. You will be alone until you come to your senses, or until the silence destroys you." "That is if you are lucky," added a Kalari drone. "If we determine that human research poses a threat to other species, we will take stronger action." Jiwan knew what that meant. The Galactic Council had weapons that could sterilize entire solar systems. They had used them before on species that became too dangerous. The aliens called it mercy. Dead species could not accidentally destroy the galaxy. "I will take your message to Earth," Jiwan said. She stood up, trying to look dignified despite feeling sick to her stomach. 30 days, Vexthera repeated. "Choose wisely, Ambassador. Choose life." As Jiwan walked out of the chamber, she heard the aliens talking among themselves. They spoke in their own languages, but her translator picked up fragments, words like inevitable and another failure and such a shame. The corridor outside was empty. Jiwan walked quickly toward the human section of the station. Her mind was racing. 30 days to abandon humanity's greatest discovery. 30 days to accept that humans were just another failed species. 30 days to bow down to alien fear. But there was something the aliens did not know about humans. Something they had never learned in all their thousands of years of galactic civilization. Humans did not give up. Humans did not bow down, and humans definitely did not let anyone else decide their fate. Jiwan reached her quarters and immediately opened a secure communication channel to Earth. Dr. Hyunwoo's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. "How did it go?" he asked. "About as badly as we expected," Jiwan replied. "They want us to stop everything. 30 days, Hyunwoo nodded slowly. "Then we had better work fast." "Hyunwoo," Jiwan said, "they told me about 17 other species that tried to use the silence and died." "I know," Hyunwoo said. "We suspected there were others, but we are not them." "How can you be so sure?" Hyunwoo smiled, and for the first time all day, Jiwon felt hope. "Because those other species listened to the Galactic Council. We are about to prove that was their first mistake." Dr. Hyunwoo stared at the screens showing data from Research Station Harmony. The station floated in deep space, far from any star or planet. It was humanity's most secret facility, built specifically to study the silence. For 3 years, Hyunwoo had led the team of scientists trying to understand what they had found. "The readings are getting stronger," said Dr. Mira, looking up from her workstation. Her dark hair was messy from running her hands through it, a habit she had when she was excited or worried. Today, she looked both. Do-hyun, the chief engineer, walked over carrying a tablet full of technical reports. "The containment fields are holding, but barely. Whatever the silence is, it does not want to stay contained." Hyunwoo nodded. He had been expecting this. For weeks, their experiments had been producing strange results. The silence was not just an energy source. It was something much more complex and much more dangerous than they had first thought. "Show me the latest scan," Hyunwoo said. Mira touched. Her screen and a 3-dimensional image appeared in the air above them. It looked like a map of space, but with strange, dark areas that seemed to twist and move. "This is what the silence looks like when we map it properly," Mira explained. It is not just floating in space. It is connected to something. Something big. Hyunwoo studied the image. The dark areas formed patterns that reminded him of a spider web or the inside of a cell. Connected to what? That is what we are trying to figure out, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Seulgi walking into the lab. She was the youngest member of their team, only 25 years old, but she had a mind that could solve problems no one else could, even understand. Hyunwoo had recruited her from the university where she had been studying theoretical physics and making her professors very nervous with her ideas. Seulgi, what have you found? Hyunwoo asked. Seulgi sat down at an empty workstation and began typing quickly. I have been running simulations based on the data from our deep space probes. The silence is not just an energy field. It is a membrane. A membrane? Do-yeon looked confused. Like a wall? More like a skin, Seulgi said. A barrier between our reality and something else. And here is the interesting part. She paused and looked around at the others. The membrane responds to human consciousness. The lab went quiet. Hyunwoo felt his heart start beating faster. What do you mean? Watch this, Seulgi said. She pulled up a recording from their latest experiment. Yesterday, when technician Junho was monitoring the containment field, his emotional state was recorded by the biometric sensors. He was feeling stressed about his daughter's school exam. The recording showed graphs of brain activity alongside readings from the silence. As Junho's stress levels went up, the silence became more active. Now watch this, Seulgi continued. She showed another recording. This morning, when Dr. Mira was feeling excited about her breakthrough in quantum mapping, the silence calmed down and became more stable. Mira stared at the data. Are you saying the silence can read our minds? Not exactly, Seulgi replied. But it is definitely reacting to human neural patterns, and only human patterns. We tested it with recordings of Vorthak brain scans that we got from the medical exchange program. Nothing. We tried Kalari neural activity patterns. Nothing. But every time a human thinks or feels something near the silence, it responds. Hyunwoo walked closer to the display. This was bigger than they had imagined. If the silence was connected to human consciousness, then humans might be the only species in the galaxy that could truly control it. There is more, Seulgi said. She looked nervous now. I have been running deeper analysis on the quantum structure of the silence. I think I know what is on the other side of the membrane. She touched her screen and new images appeared. These were darker and more frightening than the first ones. They showed shapes that looked like living things, but not any kind of life that belonged in normal space. The silence is not hiding empty space, Seulgi said quietly. It is hiding something that wants to get out. Do-yeon stepped back from the display. What kind of something? I call them the Devourers, Seulgi said. Based on the energy signatures, they appear to be entities that consume matter and energy, but not just physical matter. They consume the very concept of existence itself. They eat reality. Hyunwoo felt cold. How many of them are there? Millions, Seulgi replied. Maybe billions. They are spread across the entire galaxy, but they are trapped behind the silence membrane. They have been trapped for a very long time. Mira was studying the data with growing horror. The 17 civilizations that the aliens mentioned, the ones that were destroyed when they tried to use the silence. I think they accidentally damaged the membrane, Seulgi said. They let some of the Devourers through, and once those entities started consuming reality in our dimension, there was no way to stop them. But why did not the Galactic Council tell us this? Do-yeon asked. Hyunwoo was beginning to understand. Because they do not know. Or maybe they do know, but they are too scared to admit it. There is something else, Seulgi said. She looked directly at Hyunwoo. I ran simulations of what would happen if the silence membrane was completely destroyed. The devourers would not just consume our galaxy, they would spread to other galaxies, other dimensions. They would consume everything that exists. So the aliens are right, Mira said. We should stop our research and leave the silence alone. No, Hyunwoo said firmly. The aliens are wrong. They think the silence is dangerous because they cannot control it. But we can. How can you be sure? Do-hyun asked. Because Seulgi just proved it, Hyunwoo replied. The silence responds to human consciousness. That means humans can strengthen the membrane instead of weakening it. We might be the only species in the galaxy that can actually fix this problem. At that moment, alarms began ringing throughout the station. Tae-hoon, the military advisor assigned to protect the research team, ran into the lab. We have a problem, Tae-hoon said. Our long-range sensors are detecting ships moving toward human space. Lots of ships. Galactic Council? Hyunwoo asked. No, Tae-hoon replied. These are stealth ships using technology we have never seen before. They are watching our colonies and military bases. I think the Council has already decided what they are going to do to us. Hyunwoo looked around at his team. Mira was scared but determined. Do-hyun was already thinking about how to protect their research. Seulgi was staring at the data about the devourers. Tae-hoon was ready to fight for humanity's survival. How long do we have? Hyunwoo asked. Based on their current positions and movement patterns. Maybe 2 weeks before they are in position to strike, Tae-hoon said. Then we had better work faster, Hyunwoo said. Seulgi, I need you to run every simulation you can think of. Find out exactly how human consciousness affects the silence membrane. Mira, start working on ways to strengthen the barrier instead of breaking it. Do-hyun, begin emergency preparations for evacuating our data and equipment. What about the Galactic Council's ultimatum? Mira asked. Hyunwoo smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Let them think we are considering their demands. Meanwhile, we are going to solve a problem that has been threatening the galaxy for millions of years, and we are going to do it our way. And if we are wrong, Do-hyun asked, then we will be dead. Hyunwoo replied, but at least we will die trying to save everyone instead of living as prisoners of alien fear. The emergency meeting took place in the deepest level of Luna Base, far beneath the moon's surface. Leaders from every human colony sat around a circular table, their faces lit by the glow of holographic displays. The room was supposed to be the most secure place in human space, but everyone knew that alien technology could probably still listen to their words. Prime Minister Chen of Earth spoke first. Dr. Hyunwoo has briefed us all on the situation. The Galactic Council is not just asking us to stop our research. They are preparing to destroy us. General Rodriguez from Mars Colony nodded grimly. Our intelligence confirms it. Alien fleets are moving into position around every major human settlement. They have enough firepower to glass our worlds. Hyunwoo stood up, looking tired but determined. The situation is worse than we thought. The silence is not just an energy source, it is a prison holding back entities that could destroy the entire galaxy. The aliens know this, but they would rather sacrifice humanity than risk the prison being damaged. So we stop the research, said Governor Patel from Europa Station. We give them what they want. That will not save us, said Tae-hoon from his position near the door. I have been monitoring alien communications. They have already decided we are too dangerous to live. They believe that as long as humans exist, someone will eventually try to study the silence again. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The aliens plan to commit genocide. There is another option, Hyunwoo said quietly. We disappear. Administrator Kim from the outer colonies leaned forward. What do you mean? Seulgi has been working on applications of the silence technology, Hyunwoo explained. She believes we can use it to phase entire ships and even planets into dimensional pockets. We would still exist, but we would be invisible to normal sensors. Hide our entire civilization? General Rodriguez sounded skeptical. Is that even possible? Young engineer Sunho stepped forward from where he had been working at a side console. I have been designing the ships that could do it. We call them phase ships. They use controlled silence fields to slip between dimensions. A ship in phase space exists halfway between our reality and the Devourer dimension. Is it safe? Asked Governor Patel. Safer than staying here and getting killed, Sunho replied. The phase ships can carry thousands of people each. We could evacuate entire colonies in a matter of days. Dr. Yuna, the dimensional researcher who had been working with Selgi, activated a holographic display. We have identified 17 stable dimensional pockets near human space. Each one could hide millions of people for years if necessary. Prime Minister Chen looked around the table. You are talking about abandoning our homes. Everything we have built. Better than dying in them, Taehoon said bluntly. Hyunwoo walked to the center of the room. This is not a retreat. This is a strategic repositioning. The aliens think they can force us to choose between submission and death. We are going to choose a third option. We disappear until we can find a permanent solution to the Devourer problem. What about Ambassador Jiwon? Asked Administrator Kim. She is still on Arcturus Station. Jiwon knows the plan, Hyunwoo said. She will continue negotiations with the Galactic Council. Make them think we are considering their demands while we evacuate our people. General Rodriguez studied the evacuation plans on his tablet. This is incredibly ambitious. How do we move 3 billion people without the aliens noticing? We have been preparing for weeks, Sunho explained. The first phase ships are already built and hidden in asteroid fields throughout human space. We start with the outer colonies and work our way inward. The aliens are watching our major population centers, but they are not paying much attention to mining operations and research stations. Yuna added more details. The dimensional pockets are naturally occurring weak points in space-time. The silence makes them stable enough to live in temporarily. Each pocket can support a small fleet and several 100,000 people. How long can we stay hidden? Governor Patel asked. As long as necessary, Hyunwoo replied. But our goal is not to hide forever. While we are in phase space, we will continue studying the silence. We will find a way to permanently strengthen the prison holding the Devourers. Then we can return and show the galaxy that humans are not the problem. We are the solution. Prime. Minister Chen stood up slowly. This plan requires absolute secrecy and perfect coordination. If the aliens discover what we are doing before we finish, they will panic and attack immediately, Taehoon finished. Which is why we need to move fast. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would vanish. Over the next 2 weeks, the evacuation began. It started small and quiet. Mining ships that were scheduled to return to base instead slipped into phase space with their crews. Research stations went dark one by one, their personnel evacuated to dimensional pockets. Entire asteroid colonies simply disappeared from sensors. Sunho worked around the clock, coordinating the phase ship operations. The ships looked like normal cargo vessels from the outside, but their holds contained silence field generators that could bend reality itself. Each ship could phase an entire city if necessary. Yuna managed the dimensional pockets, making sure each one remained stable as more people arrived. The hidden spaces were strange places where the laws of physics worked differently. Gravity was lighter. Time moved slightly slower, but they were safe from alien detection. On Arcturus Station, Ji-won continued her diplomatic role. She met with Galactic Council representatives every day, discussing humanity's response to their ultimatum. She showed them reports about research stations being shut down and experiments being discontinued. The aliens believed humanity was slowly accepting defeat. Ambassador Ji-won, Vexathara said during one meeting, "We are pleased that your species is seeing reason." Humanity values life, Jiwon replied carefully. We do not wish to endanger ourselves or others. Wise, said the Kalari representative. Perhaps there is hope for humans after all. Jiwon smiled and nodded, knowing that at that very moment, 2 more human colonies were phasing into dimensional hiding. By the 3rd week, over half of humanity had vanished. The aliens noticed that some human settlements had gone quiet, but they assumed it was part of the research shutdown. Their surveillance focused on the major population centers that still appeared normal. Earth itself was the biggest challenge. 3 billion people could not disappear overnight without causing suspicion. Hyunwoo coordinated with city leaders around the world. Entire neighborhoods phased out during scheduled power outages. Subway systems became gateways to phase ships. Schools took field trips that never came back. The alien surveillance networks detected reduced activity, but their analysts concluded that humans were simply staying indoors due to depression about their situation. On the morning of the 30th day, Vexathera received a message from her intelligence division. Council leader, we are detecting some unusual readings from human space. What kind of readings? Population sensors are showing significant decreases across multiple human worlds. It appears their birth rate has dropped dramatically. Vexathera was not concerned. Fear often affects reproduction. It is natural for a species facing extinction to have fewer children. Meanwhile, in the deepest dimensional pocket, Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck of the command ship. Around him, thousands of human vessels floated in the strange half-light of phase space. Millions of his people were safe, hidden between dimensions where no alien scanner could find them. But safety was not enough. Hyunwoo looked at the data, streaming in from their monitoring stations. The silence barriers were showing stress fractures. The devourers were testing their prison. And somewhere in normal space, the Galactic Council was celebrating what they thought was humanity's surrender. They had no idea that humanity had just become something entirely new, a civilization that existed between realities, preparing to face a threat that could destroy existence itself. The real work was just beginning. The first sign of disaster came from the Kalari home system. The hive mind species had built their civilization around 7 planets, each one connected to the others through quantum communication networks. For 3,000 years, the Kalari had shared thoughts across their entire species instantly. On day 32, after humanity's supposed surrender, all 7 Kalari worlds went silent at exactly the same time. Vexathera received the emergency report while celebrating in the Galactic Council chambers. The alien leaders had been congratulating themselves on successfully handling the human problem. Now her crystal face darkened as she read the data. What does this mean? Asked the Nexari representative, its gas swirling nervously in its tank. It means something has destroyed the Kalari, Vexathera replied. All of them, 7 worlds, 40 billion beings, gone. The council chamber erupted in panicked alien voices. Nothing in galactic history had ever destroyed an entire species so quickly and completely. Send investigation ships, ordered the senior Vorthak counselor. We need to know what happened. The investigation fleet never returned. 3 days later, the outer Vorthak colonies stopped responding to communications. Unlike the Kalari, the crystal beings died slowly. Their final transmissions were filled with terror and confusion. Something is eating our ships, reported Captain Zenthara from the Vorthak vessel Crystal Dawn. It looks like empty space, but it consumes everything it touches. Matter, energy, even our thoughts. It is moving toward the core worlds. We cannot stop it. We cannot even slow it down. The transmission ended mid-sentence. The Crystal Dawn simply ceased to exist. In the dimensional pocket where humanity hid, Dr. Hyunwoo watched the alien communications with growing horror. Around him, his team studied the readings from their hidden monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The silence barriers are collapsing, Sulgi reported. her voice shaking. "The dimensional membrane is breaking apart. The devourers are coming through." Mira looked up from her workstation, her face pale. "It started when the aliens began their campaign against humanity. The barriers have been weakening for weeks." "Why?" asked Sunho. "Because human consciousness was reinforcing them," Hyun-woo realized. "When the aliens forced us to hide, we stopped unconsciously strengthening the silence. Without human minds to stabilize it, the prison is falling apart." Do-hyun was monitoring alien military communications. "The Nexari are abandoning their gas worlds. The remaining Vorthak colonies are evacuating toward the galactic rim. The Council is in complete panic." On the main display, they watched real-time sensor data from across the galaxy. Dark spots were spreading like infection through normal space. These were not empty areas. They were places where reality itself had been consumed. "How many devourers are there?" Tae-hoon asked. Sulgi checked her calculations. "Based on the rate of consumption and the size of the affected areas, I estimate at least 10 million entities have broken through, and more are coming every hour." Yuna was studying the dimensional readings. "The worst part is that they are not just consuming our reality. They are breaking through into other dimensions too. The phase spaces where we are hiding are not going to be safe much longer." As if to prove her point, alarms began ringing throughout their hidden fleet. The dimensional pocket they were in started shaking like an earthquake in space. "Something is trying to get in," Sunho reported from the engineering station. "The pocket walls are holding, but they are under attack." Captain Junsu of the Hidden Fleet appeared on the communication screen. "All civilian ships are reporting the same thing. The Devourers have found us. We have maybe days before they break through." At that moment, a message arrived from Ji-won on Arcturus Station. Her face appeared on the main screen, and she looked desperate. "Hyun-woo, can you hear me?" she whispered. "The Council is begging for humanity to return. They are offering complete surrender. They will give us anything we want if we come back and fix this." "Fix what?" Hyun-woo asked. "They finally told me the truth," Ji-won continued. "The 17 civilizations that were destroyed by the silence were not accidents. The Council has been using those species as living barriers for millions of years. Each species would discover the silence, think they could control it, and eventually, their entire civilization would merge with the dimensional membrane to keep the Devourers contained." Hyun-woo felt sick. "They were planning to sacrifice us too." "Yes," Ji-won said, "but now the sacrifice is happening anyway. The barriers are failing without any species to maintain them. The Devourers are consuming everything. The Council estimates that the entire galaxy will be dead within 6 months." Mira was studying the spreading dark zones on their sensors. "At the current rate of expansion, she is right. These entities consume reality faster than light can travel. There is no escape." "What? About other galaxies?" asked Do-hyun. Sulgi shook her head. "The Devourers exist in quantum space. Once they finish consuming our galaxy, they will spread to every other galaxy in the universe, then to parallel universes. They will not stop until nothing exists anywhere." The Dai team fell silent. They had hidden humanity to save their species, but they had accidentally doomed existence itself. "There has to be something we can do," Tae-hoon said. "There is," Hyun-woo replied slowly. "We can do what the Council wanted us to do from the beginning. We can sacrifice ourselves to rebuild the barriers." "No," Solgi said firmly. "I have been studying the quantum mechanics of the silence for months. The old method does not work anymore. The Devourers have learned how to break through barriers maintained by sacrificed civilizations. That is why the prison failed in the first place." "Then what do you suggest?" Junsu asked from his ship. Sulgi looked around at her colleagues. "We do something that has never been tried before. Instead of sacrificing ourselves to maintain a prison, we merge with the silence itself. We become the barrier. permanently. What does that mean? Mira asked. It means humanity stops being a normal species, Seulgi explained. We become something new, something that exists partially in normal space and partially in the void between dimensions. We become the eternal guardians of reality itself. Yun-Woo thought about what she was suggesting. We would never be able to return to normal life. Normal life is about to end anyway, Yuna pointed out. The Devourers are coming for us whether we act or not. Another alarm sounded. The dimensional pocket shook more violently. Decision time, Sunho announced. The pocket barriers are failing. We have maybe 6 hours before the Devourers break through. Hyun-Woo looked around at his team. These people had followed him into the unknown because they believed humanity could solve any problem. Now they faced the ultimate test. Send a message to all human ships, he said. Every person gets to choose. We can try to run and probably die anyway, or we can transform ourselves into something that can protect the universe forever. What? If people say no? Taehoon asked. Then they can take their chances in normal space, Hyun-Woo replied. But I think I know what humans will choose when they understand what is at stake. The vote took 3 hours. When it was finished, over 90% of humanity had chosen transformation. They were about to become something the universe had never seen before. Something that could hold back the darkness that wanted to consume everything. The Devourers had no idea what was coming for them. The transformation began at the galactic core, where the silence was strongest. Hyun-Woo stood on the bridge of the lead ship as thousands of human vessels emerged from their dimensional hiding places. They moved through space like ghosts, their hulls shimmering between solid matter and pure energy. All ships report ready, announced Captain Junsu over the communications network. Phase drives are synchronized. The dimensional generators are online. Hyun-Woo looked around at his team one last time. Mira was monitoring the quantum field readings. Seulgi was coordinating the consciousness merge protocols. Do-hyun was managing the engineering systems that would transform them all. Taehoon stood, ready to coordinate their new existence as guardians of reality. Once we begin, there is no going back, Hyun-Woo said. We will no longer be fully human. We will be something new. We were always going to be something new, Seulgi replied. Humans never stay the same for long. Around them, the Devourers were spreading through normal space like a plague. Entire star systems vanished as the entities consumed them. The few remaining alien survivors sent desperate messages begging for humanity's help, but there was no time to save them conventionally. Beginning the merge, Hyun-Woo announced. The first stage was the hardest. Human consciousness had to expand beyond the limits of individual minds. Across the fleet, 3 billion people opened their thoughts to the silence, allowing the dimensional energy to flow through them. The pain was incredible. Seulgi screamed as her awareness suddenly stretched across multiple realities. Do-hyun collapsed as his mind tried to process information from 7 dimensions at once. Even Hyun-Woo felt his thoughts scatter across space and time before he learned to control the flow. But humans adapted. They always did. Within hours, the scattered human fleet began moving as one organism. Ships phased in and out of reality, appearing wherever Devourers threatened to break through the silence barriers. Human consciousness, now expanded and connected, began reinforcing the dimensional membranes that kept the entities contained. It is working, Mira reported, though her voice now came from a dozen different ships simultaneously. The barriers are stabilizing. The Devourers noticed the change immediately. The entities that had been consuming reality without resistance suddenly found themselves facing opposition. Wherever they tried to break through the silence, human ships appeared to stop them. But the humans were no longer fighting conventionally. Sunho discovered he could phase his engineering crews directly into damaged sections of the dimensional membrane, repairing it from the inside. Yuna found she could exist in multiple realities at once, coordinating repairs across parallel dimensions. The battle was fought on levels that normal beings could not even perceive. Human consciousness wrestled with alien hunger in the spaces between atoms. Ships that existed as both matter and energy engaged entities that fed on the concept of existence itself. More devourers are coming through near the Vorthak ruins, Taehoon reported. His tactical awareness now covered the entire galaxy. Redirecting Guardian Fleet 7 to intercept. The humans had become the Guardians. No longer bound by the limitations of physical form, they could be everywhere at once. When devourers attacked one star system, human consciousness was there to stop them. When the dimensional barriers weakened, human will strengthened them. But the transformation was not without cost. As days passed, the Guardians found themselves becoming less human and more something else. Their individual personalities began to merge into a collective consciousness focused entirely on protecting reality. "We are losing ourselves," Mira whispered during one of their rare moments of individual thought. "No," Hyunwoo replied, his voice now carrying harmonics from other dimensions. "We are becoming what we were always meant to be, protectors, guardians, the bridge between what is and what could be." 3 months after the transformation began, the last of the devourers were contained. The entities still existed behind the Hao, silence barriers, but they could no longer break through. Human consciousness had become a permanent part of the dimensional membrane itself, creating a prison that could not be broken. The surviving aliens emerged from their hiding places to find a galaxy transformed. Where human ships had once traveled, there were now strange phenomena that defied explanation, stars that pulsed with multidimensional energy, space stations that existed in several realities simultaneously, and sometimes figures that looked almost human, but moved through solid matter as if it were air. Ambassador Jiwon was among the few humans who had chosen not to undergo the transformation. She remained on Arcturus Station as humanity's final representative to the normal universe. "What have you become?" Vexathara asked during their first meeting after the crisis ended. Jiwon smiled, and for a moment, her form flickered between solid matter and pure light. "We became what we had to become, the thing you warned us about." "The silence?" "No," Jiwon replied. "The thing you should have warned yourself about. You tried to force humanity to choose between submission and death. You forgot that humans always find a third option." The Galactic Council, what little remained of it, tried to understand what had happened. Their scientists studied the new phenomena throughout the galaxy. Their philosophers debated the nature of existence in a universe guarded by transdimensional beings. But the humans who had become guardians were beyond such concerns. They existed now in the spaces between thoughts, in the pause between heartbeats, in the silence between words. They were everywhere and nowhere, watching and protecting. Years passed. The galaxy slowly rebuilt itself under the protection of the silent guardians. New civilizations arose, some of them descendants of the survivors from the Devourer crisis. These new species learned to live in a universe where the laws of physics were gently guided by benevolent consciousness that existed beyond normal reality. Children of these new civilizations would sometimes claim to see figures made of light, walking through their cities. Scientists would detect impossible readings that suggested intelligence watching from parallel dimensions. Artists would paint images of beings that looked almost human, but seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. The galaxy began to call them the Silent Ones, the Watchers between worlds. The guardians of reality, but among themselves, they remembered their true name. They were still human, just not in any way that normal beings could understand. In the deepest parts of space, where the silence was strongest, the consciousness that had once been Dr. Hyunwoo continued his research. He studied the barriers that contained the devourers, making sure they would never fail again. Around him, the consciousness that had been Silgi explored new mathematical concepts that existed only in multidimensional space. The awareness that had been Mira mapped the quantum foundations of reality itself. They were no longer individuals, but they had not lost their humanity. They had expanded it beyond all previous limits. And sometimes, when young civilizations faced impossible choices, the Guardians would whisper guidance across the dimensional barriers, not to give answers, but to remind those who listened that there was always another way. Humanity had warned the galaxy about the silence. The galaxy had not listened. So humanity had become the silence itself, transformed into something that could protect existence forever. They had kept their promise in the only way they could, by becoming the very thing others had feared, and proving that fear had been the real danger all along. In the end, the Silent Guardians watched over a universe where species could grow and learn without the constant threat of cosmic destruction. And in the spaces between stars, human consciousness smiled with the satisfaction of a job well done. The thing the aliens had warned them about had indeed been released. It was protecting them all,